Hello, sir. So we are here at the Malta High Commission with the High Commissioner, and this is one country which has got too much of history to tell us. So let's quickly check from the High Commissioner himself about things. Hello, sir.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. So why don't you tell us about the history of Malta?
Well, Malta has a very, very long history. In fact, we have one of the oldest, I would say the oldest man-made structures in the world. It's called the Gigantia. It goes back to the prehistoric times. We are in the center of the Mediterranean Sea. So obviously you can already have an idea which powers were in Malta.
Sure.
Up until our independence in 1964, we were always a colony. So we were a colony of the Roman Empire, for instance. Right. Byzantine Empire later on. We were also under the Arab rule. Then we had European powers, such as the Normans, the Angevins, the Knights of the Order of St. John, the French for a short period, and then the British. And this is part of what we share, our history shares with India. And
right.
as I told you before even, when the British used to go to India by ship during the time of the British Raj, they used to pass through Malta, because the voyage was Great Britain, Gibraltar, Malta,
right.
Suez Canal, and then they used to come to India.
India, yeah.
So we have a connection there, and obviously, apart from British people coming to India, we also had Indians pass through, because obviously all the
Sure.
Indians who were going to Great Britain were passing through Malta as
Obviously.
well. So the connection is there. I mean, obviously the sizes of our countries are, to put it very mildly, quite different. We are a small country of 500,000 population.
Right.
Even though we are very densely populated.
Right.
In the case of India, you are 1.2 billion, so it's India's a whole world for me.
Right, right. And when we talk about Malta,
Yes.
there are 3 things which a traveler must do. So why
Right.
don't you tell our listeners to what are those 3 must-do things when in Malta?
First of all, you have to visit historical sites.
Historical sites.
Historical sites like the capital city, Valletta, which is on a peninsula. The old capital city, which goes back before 1566, it's called Mdina,
Sure.
which is on a hill, a city on a hill. Very beautiful, because it's a mixture of Arab architecture, but also European architecture.
Right.
Mdina
Right.
is in fact an Arab word, the Medina.
Sure.
So that's the first thing. Visit the historical sites. One has to visit definitely Malta's sister island, Gozo,
Okay.
which has its own historical sites. In fact, I told you the oldest man-made structure in the
Yes.
world, Gigantia,
Yes.
coming from giant,
Right.
is in Gozo.
Nice.
So visiting Gozo is definitely a must. And the third thing, we are a sun island, and the sea, obviously
Right.
we're an island. So one has to visit. I mean, you cannot ignore the sea.
Absolutely.
Because we're a small country, a small island, surrounded by the sea, so you cannot go to Malta and not see the sea. It's impossible.
Yes.
In fact, that's why we have a lot of tourists in the summer season, because they can swim, etc., etc. But it's also nice to be in Malta, for instance, in autumn or in spring. And in most cases, one can swim, or at least if you don't swim, you can have a harbor cruise or a cruise around
So
the
you have a
island,
lot of
etc.
activities which are there at the seaside.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
Right.
So
I think we've got enough reasons to travel to Malta.
Oh, that's
now.
for sure. That's for sure.
And when we talk about Malta, so the thing which comes in our mind is food and shopping.
But yeah.
So why didn't you tell us something about the food and the shopping which is there?
Right. Let's start about the food. We have an interesting kitchen, which is very Mediterranean,
Right.
which takes from the north of the Mediterranean, like we have a lot of Italian influence in our kitchen,
Right.
but also from the south of the Mediterranean. But what's interesting as well is that we have our own food. For instance, the rabbit, our national
Food.
food. I mean, the dish which you will get if you're hosted by someone is rabbit.
Right.
And something which I like a lot about Malta is the bread.
Bread.
Maltese bread.
Right.
It's whenever I talk about it, especially living abroad, so I cannot buy it. That is something which I really miss, the Maltese bread. Then we have, other interesting dishes like fish, for instance. As I said, we're an island, so we have a number of interesting fish dishes. Like, for instance, a particular fish which lives around our island. It's called lampuka.
Okay.
That's very good. It's usually the best time for it is September. And then, today in Malta we've become very, very cosmopolitan, so you can get Indian food if you want, or Vietnamese, or Chinese, or Japanese, or you name it. In fact, Indian food is very well known.
Nice.
Very well known in Malta. So for Indian people who want to, we have a lot of Indian chefs, so they obviously are cooking Indian food. So
Indian food is also not a problem, but once you are in Malta, so you have to definitely try the local food out there.
yeah, of course, definitely. In fact, we have particular restaurants called Maltese restaurants.
Nice.
Which which focus on Maltese food.
Okay, nice.
So you have places where
We
you
what
know
to eat.
that you will get Maltese typical food.
Authentic food. Yes.
Authentic
And
food.
when we talk about shopping.
Shopping, well, what can I say about shopping? You can find anything. Talking about shopping, something interesting is that, especially in the past, in the main street of Malta, which used to be called Royal Street and now we call it Republic Street, there used to be very famous Indian textile shops.
Okay.
And most of the Maltese used to buy from there.
Nice.
So especially I would say, I remember it when I was a boy in the 80s and 90s, having these Indian shops, Kopaldas, Krishna, Savita, and they used to sell, clothes, and they became very renowned. Like if you want to buy good clothes, you go to the Indian, and I mean these people spoke Maltese, became Maltese. Probably they came to Malta during the British time, the British Raj here in India. They passed through Malta and then they stayed. So today, I mean, you find most of the brands. Basically, if you want to go for shopping, you will find anything one needs. I mean, of course, one has to keep in mind that we are a small island, so most of the production, most of what we sell comes from abroad.
Right.
But it's never been an issue that somebody did not find the right, clothes because
so you get everything there.
You get everything there.
So I think we've got enough reasons to travel to Malta. So let the borders open up and these things which have been told to us by the Excellency himself. So stay tuned for more and do check the upcoming issue of Travel Jingles where we are also talking about few more things to do in Malta. Till then, thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.